Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ, where I am joined by my good friends all over the globe. I can say globe because there's 2 countries on this podcast, so that's technically true. Multiple countries, more than one. Corban Ford of Roundball Ramble, Swish Theory, and everywhere else. Corban, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to talk ball with y'all as always. Ready for the actual, NBA season to resume, but until then, catching up on some games I've missed. So, we'll find life here.
There you go. Also here, up there across the border, over there in Canada, I believe is what it's called, of Odd Shark in Raptors Republic, Chris Walder. Chris, good evening, sir. How are you?
Representing Canada, or whatever the hell you American folk want to call it today. But no, I'm doing good, man. Another late night here in Toronto, but I'm always looking forward to doing a podcast with you lads. Always a pleasure. I love it. Now, it looks like you're 19, like 1960, with your background with the vintage stuff behind you and the lighting and everything. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Mad Men when Chris is on here in the bottom right corner.
This is as classy as I get, boys.
It's classy. Also here of Playoff Foul over there in Dallas, Texas, Kenny Spence. Kenny, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm sicko who misses basketball already, and I don't know whether we're getting into it or not, but I don't consider what we watched this past weekend basketball. So we've missed a ton. So I can't wait to get back to it.
Well, let's get this out of the way, because I'll just go ahead and say I only watched the 3-point contest. That's all I wanted to watch was the 3-point contest. And then I went about my weekend. I watched what I wanted to watch, and then I moved on. And that's what I did. But I don't think the rest of the guys on this call did that. So I leave the floor. I mean, Corban, I feel like you're just ready to go. You're ready to jump in the All-Star conversation. So how would you like to talk about this, sir?
Listen, I just wish I had your self-restraint, Chase. Like, some of us are NBA masochists. Like, we just, like, this is what we do. We're sickos. Like, I used to plan, I don't know why the last couple of years I have, but there's days where if I'm at work, I'm not at work. Like, I'm calling off. Like, that's free agency the first day. This NBA trade deadline. Draft is in the evening. I'm usually okay with that. And then All-Star weekend. Like, I'm making sure I'm not having plans. Like, I'm chilling out. Okay, that's extreme. I have plans. They're just, like, on the side. Like, my focus is All-Star weekend, knowing that Sunday's probably going to be disappointing. But, like, Lord have mercy. Like, it was rough. Like, Sunday was, like, the culmination of, like, a lackluster weekend. And what I mean is, like, obviously Friday, I'd forgotten for a minute that the Rising Stars Challenge even happened then. You had, shout out to G League for winning that to the celebrity game, which, like, honestly, I don't even know half of who these people are, so I don't really even tune into that. Saturday comes in. I don't know. Like, I felt like the skills challenge was a waste of time. 3-point shootout was fine. I thought it was okay. Although there was a lot of egregious errors. Cat hit like 3 straight 2-pointers in a row that they didn't call, like, and the ref is standing right there, but whatever. It only dictates who goes in the finals against, Damian Lillard, but whatever. So fine. Like, that's the thing that happened. Steph versus Sabrina was great, I thought. Just the commentary around it was kind of cringy, but whatever. And then the dunk contest, like, by the time Saturday ended, I was like, like, this hasn't been great. Like, I did sit through 2 hours of this, but hey, like, hopefully, the commissioner said the game's going to be more competitive. I know Oscar Robertson said something. I know Larry Bird the morning of was like, I hope it's going to be competitive. I'm like, okay, enough bigger guys or whatever have said something. We're going to have a great show. What the heck was that, man? Like, what the heck? They shot 162 3-pointers. Like, I can go to the gym right now and play that kind of game. Like, I don't need to see that. Like, it was insane. And, like, what's crazy is, like, they shot that many threes, and the West hit like 35% of them. So not only are you shooting threes, at least if you're on the East, you see them go in. On the West, you're just shooting and missing. Like, the entire, like, it was a mess. I turned it off after halftime. I turned it back on because at that point I was like, fuck, like, excuse my French, I'm already here. Like, I turned it back off and just went to do some reading. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, this weekend, this was the year. I'm so glad I didn't go. I wanted to actually go down there, to kind of experience it for the first time, kind of see what All-Star Weekend was all about. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there needs to be something done, though, because you take the first weekend after Super Bowl when all the casual fans are around now and, hey, let's see what the NBA is doing, right? I've heard all these things. I'm on social media, but let's see the product, right? And that's what you see? Like, nah, fam. I'm not saying it has to be like Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but I don't know what that was. Like, I don't know. The bad just so outweighed the good that I was just left with such a sour taste in my mouth. And now I'm gonna leave it to y'all because I need some other thoughts. Whew.
Goodness. Thanks a lot, Adam Silver. Look, you've ruined Corbin's weekend yet again.
Congratulations. Like, when he said that was hilarious. I'm just doing it whenever I'm slightly disappointed. Like, oh, I got my food. Oh, that's not what the camera or what the commercial said. Well, congratulations. Like, that was just some, like, I don't know.
Well, his was an all-timer. I mean, it was a lot. And then you find out everything else where Andre Iguodala is coming there talking to him. And they just, it's never good when you have to get so many different reinforcements. You get Larry Bird in there. I think Dr. J, who is like one of the nicest guys, he's in there like, hey guys, can you give it a serious go this weekend? No, we're not going to do that. But thank you. We're going to pass. And then it comes out like maybe more money is like a financial incentive. And we're like, I mean, it's smart play to use the leverage there, but also they're not going to play harder. And when you hear that, like, they take it as like a week off, what was it, Anthony Edwards, what he said, where he's just like, we see it as a week off. Like, or you're not going to get us to make it competitive. Like, there's just not a way in the mindset of these guys to make it competitive because they see it as a week off. And if that's the mindset, there's nothing you can legislate out of the game, it feels like, Chris.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned like those veterans going in there to talk to the locker room and be like, you guys got to put on a show for the fans. Like, don't just lollygag and do whatever. Not only did they have, not show any effort, but they had the worst effort of any All-Star game in the history of the competition. So that was kind of like a kick in the dick to those guys. Like, yeah, we totally disobeyed whatever you guys said. Kind of put it into perspective for me because I think Toronto held the best All-Star weekend in the history of the event. Like even everything from the skills competition. I remember when it was like bigs versus guards and Karl Anthony Towns hit that shot at the very end to win it and they were going ecstatic. 3-point contest. It was a showdown between Clay and Steph, which everyone wanted to see. The dunk contest, obviously, with Levine and Aaron Gordon, which is probably the best mano-a-mano event ever. And then the All-Star game itself was Kobe's last event. So they were treating it like a very eventful thing, which it absolutely was. Everything since then has been just an absolute letdown. I called this last week during the podcast. I was like, look, if Mac McClung doesn't deliver in the dunk contest, the thing's going to be an absolute dud. And I was partially right. I mean, I think Toppin had some pretty good dunks. He should have been there at the very end with McClung instead of Jaylen Brown, who jumped over all 6 inches of K-Sanat, who's sitting down, by the way. That was pretty brutal. I think changes are coming to this event. I think Adam Silver, you heard it in his voice during like at the very end of the event. Is like, congrats, East. You scored the most points. That's about it. Like, here's your trophy, I guess. I don't know. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they start making some wholesale changes. It really was bad, but the issue is that a lot of people tuned in, and they're probably going to gauge the success on that alone.
What do you think, Kenny?
I don't know what I'm more upset at between the All-Star game or them trying to force Jaylen Brown into the finals of the dunk contest. But they were both slaps in the face to the fans. We actually went on a whole, me and my co-host on Playoff Hour, we actually went on a whole tangent on that. But it's just like, you realize we can see these dunks, right? Like, this man dunked and then covered his eyes after. It's just like,
oh, that was gold. Oh, that was gold. I was hoping that's what he was doing, Chris. Like that. Like, give me a dab. Like you said it, Kenny. Like we can't all see. Like there are multiple angles of that.
It was just disrespect. I did like the Rising Stars, though. I thought that was really competitive and fun. But also, that may be a little bit of bias because Alondes Williams stood out, and he's the Heat's new two-way player, and I feel like they're doing it again. So maybe I'm biased on that end. 3-point shootout was amazing to me, but it kind of always is. Steph versus Sabrina, I want them to bring the WNBA 3-point champion in every year. At some point, it's a good idea. But the game itself, I just feel like it's dead. The dunk contest is for sure dead. And actually, no. I know what I'm more mad at. I'm more mad at the dunk contest because during the third quarter, I did decide to take a quick nap on the All-Star game. So that was cool.
Shout out to naps.
Yeah, gotta get them.
It's like, I think it's just like one of those where there, speaking to your point, Chris, about like just the ratings and people tuning in and what it does for the city, there's huge financial incentives for cities hosting this over the weekend and all the different people that come in from out of town and the tourism aspect to it. Like it's going to keep happening year over year. The guys want a vacation. They're taking it as like a mental vacation and really like a physical vacation in a lot of ways too. But once you get to that point, like I just don't know how you flip it. Like unfortunately, I just kind of have a cynical perspective on this, which is I don't think you're going to do wholesale changes. And I think they're just going to continue year over year to try and come on, guys, come on. And it's just never going to happen. I feel like this is going to be the story year over year because I don't know. Once you go down this rabbit hole, I don't know how you get out of it, like the whole toothpaste out of the tube. Like once people stop caring and the generation of superstars don't care when you have legends telling them, hey guys, please care. And they're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. What else can you do? Like, I don't think the financial aspect will do it either because I think these guys really want to break, and I think it would make sense if you did a week off, like with the train in the season. The problem is there's a lot of money at stake, and the NBA is like, no, we're not taking the week off. We need to do these all-star events. It's good for these cities. It's good for the league, and there are still good events like we talked about with the 3-point contest, which is actually better than ever. I think so. There are positives, but I don't know. I think you're just gonna have to live with a lot of it and just kind of, I don't know, go through the motions. And Matt McClung just keeps winning these for the next 25 years. So I don't know.
Get him in the league, honestly. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like here's the thing. I think money could be somewhat of an incentive. You had the Lakers turn to like the 2020 Lakers for a tournament that like almost immediately they went on a slump. Like they turned it on. They were up and down most of the season or the early part of the year. Into the tournament comes in all of a sudden, with some refs in the Phoenix game, whatever. Like they turn into what they do. They win the whole thing. They're great. And they immediately go. Like I think as much as they get paid and as much as the money's thrown around and all the things, like more, huh? At this point, something has to be done. I mean, I think this was like an embarrassment. It's being talked about like for all the wrong reasons. Like, yes, it's a slow news time, but even last year, like it was bad, sort of. Like it was some parts. I mean, I think that Mac McClung single-handedly like saved the weekend last year because like there was some talk about All-Star Weekend being kind of a malaise, but at the same time, like we still couldn't get over Mac McClung. But this year, like, yes, this entire time, like outside of the Austin Rivers, JJ Redick, Doc Rivers, whatever drama, like this is the talk and will continue to be the talk until Thursday when NBA games start again. So like Silver, congratulations. We're talking about the All-Star game. I just don't know. Like, I think just because of the bad press, like, I think that is what it is. Like, for example, I work on Basketball Intelligence. We get articles out, every day on like all the stuff, right? I did it on Monday and it was like at least 10. Like, I only picked like 7 or 8 that I thought were like pretty decent in terms of arguments and things like that. There was at least 10 different ones on pretty reputable sites about the All-Star game. Like, and it's going to be more, I feel like. I just think I'm with you. Like, on the one hand, there's a feeling of like, I don't know, like something has to be done, but what's going to be done? But at the same time, like the NBA just going to resign themselves to this, like this kind of media. I just can't see it.
Man,
I do want to, I feel like the players are kind of missing a point on something because we just had a week, for example, of everybody getting behind Trae Young because he got snubbed in the All-Star game, and between him maybe feeling away and other players, and like everybody rallied behind him to get in there. And then he gets in there and he's part of the just giving the fans nothing. And so I do kind of want to point out that the players doing that after they're being voted for and being supported, and they have incentives in their contracts to where if they make an all-star team, they get this much. Anyway, I do feel like them saying, "I will play hard if you pay me more." It's kind of a slap in the face to the fans. I just want to say
agreed.
The only suggestion, and I think I heard someone on Twitter say it, the only thing that makes sense if they just don't do wholesale changes is announce the All-Stars during the season, but don't have the game and the festivities of it all until right before the start of the next season. I kind of like that idea because not only are the players like refreshed, they're looking to get back on the court. If you're going to glorify it as this like no defense exhibition anyway, do it right before the preseason. Just have the festivities at that point. The players may care because they haven't really seen any action. Get the stars out there. I think the only way to fix this is to move the date entirely. Give the players a break during the actual season.
I'm not mad at that.
That's interesting. I like it.
Switching gears a little bit here. Corban, were the Nets right to fire Jacque Vaughn, and are the Nets a sneaky disaster up in Brooklyn right now?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're any more of a disaster than they've been. Like, you're trying to build around a guy who's about to be 28 and like he's a future as if he's like a 22, 23-year-old. I think like I love Mikal Bridges. Like, I lived in Arizona. He became like a really good player, but like, I mean, I think Stevie Wonder could kind of see the ceiling on him. Like, I don't know if he's like, gonna be like a 10-pole star. He's a very fine player. I think just the philosophy they're having is kind of an issue, right? The lack. I think they made like one move at the trade deadline. Like the lack of moves, the idea to be like a scary 11th seed. Like they're just kind of stuck in mediocrity, right? Which is essentially what they were, before they acquired Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I think the difference was they had guys who were like young, like on the come up, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Allen, back when those guys had potential of who knows what they could be, right? And I mean, we kind of know now, but at the time, even then they were mediocre, but like they had some young guys peppered up and down their roster that you could look at and go, okay, like, let's see what this becomes. And they're like, actually, now forget it. We got KD, Kyrie, and DeAndre Jordan. And then it was KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, right? Like, and now it's the general mediocrity again. So I don't think they're any worse. I don't know. Jacque Vaughn, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't super impressed with him. Like, I think he's a great person from all accounts, like a really solid guy. I've never thought he was a great X and O's person. I mean, just some of the rotations and the way he was playing, during the season with the Nets, that wasn't super great, right? And that's just not, I don't think that was his like strength. And so, yeah, if you have a team that's trying to win and, Jacque Vaughn can't get the lineups out there and you also lose by like 45, 50 something, like that, like, yeah, that you're probably going to lose your job. Like you weren't that great to begin with. And then you have a couple embarrassing losses. And yeah, I don't have too much of a thought on it. Like, it's kind of weird, the timing of it. Could have fired him the next day. I mean, you could have fired him over the weekend. Like, you wait until, all right, like resumption of business. Like, there's no, deadline on firing a coach. Can fire a coach. So, like, I thought that was weird. But, like, I'm not like, oh, Jacque Vaughn does it. No, like, okay, I'm sorry. But I don't know. I don't have any hot takes on that. I just think Brooklyn's kind of they're a bad team, right? And they're trying to figure out the culture. I think the next person to probably go is Sean Marks. Like, I'm not sure how, in the last 8 years you've gone through 4 coaches and you're still good. I just think that's like, I mean, if you're not Charlotte or one of the like bottom teams, I don't know why you're, Washington with Ernie Grunfeld for years. I'm not sure why you think you're safe, but anyway, yeah, I just, it was time for a change. I hope that, Kevin Ollie is the coach that Brooklyn needs. He was really good in college. I think he's still like more of a motivator type, but maybe that's Brooklyn thought they needed to change direction. And yeah, that's kind of what I have on that.
I think it's wild too. You look at it. I thought they'd had a couple 51 seasons. They haven't had a 51 season since 2001. 2001 for the Nets.
Geez,
like they've had some talented teams in here, and we're talking long time. And you have some 41 seasons here. Like Jacque Vaughn went 43 and 32 last year, replacing Nash. They get to the first round, they lose. They made the semis with Nash in 2020, 2021. He was 48 and 24. I mean, you think about the Kenny Atkinson years, and those are positive for the most part. And you're like, oh, but the wins weren't really there. I mean, Kenny gets fired 28 and 34 in 2019, 2020. And then, I mean, he's 500 before that. And everyone has these good thoughts. And you're like, oh, they're Avery Johnson years. You look at Lawrence Frank years. I mean, since Byron Scott, the Nets have been a sneaky disaster. Different ownership groups now, different cities. But by and large, I think the Nets have flown under the radar because the Knicks are just a bigger deal in New York, but the Knicks are operating like a stable run franchise. Like they are they are absolutely in a much better spot than the Nets are. And I just feel like the Nets just don't know what they're doing. Like, Kenny, you look at it, they just go back and forth between going all in, putting all their chips in, and then panicking, and then maybe holding on guys for a little bit too long and not really understanding what kind of long-term direction they want to go in. It's just, it seems like the Nets have an identity crisis to me more than anything else, right?
Yeah, it's exactly a couple of things you said. One, they just simply don't know what they're doing. Two, the Jacque Vaughn thing, for example, and he wasn't that great of a coach. I like Jacque Vaughn, but him getting fired, I don't think moves the needle either way, because the issues are coming from higher up. Even with them fumbling the KD, Kyrie thing, it's in that case, you bring in Steve Nash, who's an inexperienced coach, to manage these egos, and people like Steve Nash, but that wasn't the coach for that situation. They kind of messed up with that. The trade in Jared Allen, essentially for no reason, aside from KD and Kyrie wanting to play with DeAndre Jordan, who was no longer DeAndre Jordan. It's just a franchise that just kind of has no idea what it's doing. And they've shown it now with trying to build around Mikal Bridges, who, like y'all have said, is a really good player, but is 28 years old and has shown that he may not even be an all-star. So I don't understand that. So I just don't, it's a franchise I don't understand.
It's also they have nothing in the cupboard. They don't have first-round picks the next 2 years.
Right.
Like, they're kind of rebuilding, don't have picks, and they don't have any young players to be excited about. We talk about Mikal. He's a good player. He's 27.
Yeah.
Cam Johnson's 27. Dorian Finney-Smith's 30. Like, Nick Claxton's fine. He's not a core guy. Like, he's not someone that you're like, oh, untouchable. Like, this is a team about ready to go to a rebuild with no first-round picks, and all this with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden just a couple years ago. To have a cupboard this bare, to me, Chris, speaks to, like, there is absolutely no reason Sean Marks should still be the GM of the Nets. So it's like, if you're going to move on from Jacque Vaughn, I get that. Sean Marks has fumbled this in a significant way over the last couple of years. And I just think you need a whole new vision and just wipe this slate clean, because there need to be wholesale changes. And I just feel like they're in a sneaky spot where this is a disaster. And I think Sean Marks being able to avoid a lot of these firestorms is very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is circumstantial too. I don't think Jacque Vaughn was the problem, unless they really do feel that Kevin Ollie is their guy and they just want to get him into this role as soon as possible, groom him to be the long-term head coach. I can totally justify that. Kind of like what they had with Milwaukee with Adrian Griffin. They were just like, you know what, it's not happening. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get Doc Rivers in, which remains to be seen. I think the problem with Brooklyn, though, in general, though, and this is something that is also an issue with the Clippers as well, is that they're always going to be second fiddle, in their own area, right? The Nets are never going to be the Knicks. The Clippers are never going to be the Lakers. That's why they have to make these big, splashy moves, these big, splashy hires, like hiring a Steve Nash, like bringing together Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden. That obviously didn't pan out, and a lot of the onus has to fall on the players as well. They're three superstar players that couldn't seem to make it work under that regime. I think the assets that they got, Mikal Bridges, like you said, is not exactly young, in terms of, what is considered young in basketball. Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, all these guys. Claxton's probably going to leave in free agency. I think he's unrestricted this year as well. And then, of course, Ben Simmons, which hasn't panned out because his career is always going to be in flux with his injured back. So I can kind of, give a little bit of, sympathy to Brooklyn's situation. I think the assets that they have, considering what they used to have, is probably the best situation that they could have really ended up in. But like you said, I think Sean Marks has really kind of, fumbled a lot of moves, and he's probably the one that needs to be, walking the plank at this point, not the head coach.
The Nets are they're in trouble, and I just don't see them getting out of this anytime soon. I think they're under the radar, but I think they're a sneaky dumpster fire. And Ben Simmons' contract still on the books for several more years, and the man's already 30. It's crazy. Kenny, do you like the Mike Conley extension, 2-year extension? Played really well this year, obviously, in Minnesota with those young guys, and they're obviously thriving atop the West. But do you like the Conley extension for Minnesota?
I definitely like it. I feel like these teams, especially a team like Minnesota that has so many young guys, you need a guy like Mike Conley who's been around for a long time, who has the IQ, who has the experience. Because when you look at that team, although they're one of the best in the league right now, going into these playoffs, this is going to be the first time they're probably favorites to win a series, depending on who they go up against. And so you need a veteran presence. And Mike Conley's also played well. And what's kind of gone under the radar is Rudy Gobert has been more than functional offensively this season. And a big part of it is Mike Conley having that chemistry with him from the Utah days. And so extending that for a little longer, especially when he's shown he can still play and still play well, I think is the correct move for Minnesota, especially considering the fact it's a small market. And even though they have been a good team, you're not really getting free agents with that money anyway. And so I'm definitely all for it.
I think so too. And it's not a lot of money, and he's just been a really good leader. But I think the health, it seems like that's probably the biggest gamble there a little bit, is that he's going to be able to keep playing at this level and be one of your core starters and someone who they need ready to go come playoff time. Like, a lot is kind of sneaky riding on Mike Conley. I mean, you bring in Monty Morris, so we'll see how that goes. But still, you don't want to be in a position where Conley's not available. What do you think, Corban?
Muted. There we go. I agree. I think that he's a guy that this is a smart move. He's been playing well. He's definitely been a setting force for them. At the same time, like, they're kind of over a barrel. I mean, even acquiring Monty Morris didn't like lessen the leverage or lack thereof that they had with Conley in negotiating, right? I read there was over a month of them going back and forth. I think it's a good deal. I think he has stability he wants. I do worry. I mean, not that he declines. I mean, he's still been a very solid player, but at some point, I mean, every point guard, it happens, right? Like the drop. And so, and they don't have another option than that. So, like, if he falls off fast in his 36, 37 year, you can't bring Monty Morris back. So you have another guard on like a vet minimum. I mean, unless you're gonna go point Anthony Edwards full time, like, I think things can get kind of weird really quick, right? But for what it was, yeah, I think it was a nice piece of business for sure. He's been great for them. They're number one in the West. Like, the math is simple on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, what team? This would be fun. Which team has the best second half surge? So when you think about coming out of the All-Star break, who do you think comes out of the gate and just has the all-time great February through May run here?
I don't know if it's going to be an all-time great run, but considering how they entered the All-Star break and considering everything that's at stake for the rest of the season and hopefully into the playoffs, I'm keeping my eye on the Golden State Warriors. 8-2 heading into the break. During that stretch, they were like having a top 10 offense, a top 10 defense. I'm curious if this Klay Thompson, raising the second unit ceiling. He had 35 against the Utah Jazz, the final game before the break, which was huge, even though they lost. Jonathan Kuminga has been incredible as a starter. Like, I was hoping that the Raptors would snatch him for Siakam before that trade with the Pacers went through, because I think Kuminga has a lot of potential. But I think with the Warriors, and I'm currently writing a piece for OddsShark about this as well, this feels like it's kind of like their final curtain call, like the dynasty that is the Golden State Warriors. They're going to be entering this next era with the young guys that they currently have. And I think Klay Thompson, this is in all likelihood his final season with Golden State. I think he's going to demand far more money than Golden State's probably willing to pay him. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Los Angeles or even Orlando. I know Orlando's been kind of sprinkled about in rumors as of late, but I think the Warriors kind of understand that, hey, I know entering this season, the best case scenario was, taking our veteran guys that have won us championships, mixing them in with the young blood, and hopefully making one final push for a championship. I don't think they're going to get that far. I think they will be favored by some in an opening round matchup against Oklahoma City or Minnesota, because they are unproven. Golden State has that championship pedigree, which those teams don't have. So I think if Golden State can sneak in, and if they can make this situation with Klay coming off the bench work, even if he gets incorporated back into the starting lineup, I really like Golden State's chances to kind of work their way out of that play-in spot. Even if they are in the play-in, I think they'll be favored to exit it. So yeah, the success that they've had heading into the break, and just everything that's at stake. Keep your eye on the Warriors.
They're above 500. Like you said, winner of 8 of their last 10, 27-26. Still some ground to make up with the Lakers and company above them. But like you said, I mean, it's not like there's just a huge drop off. And I mean, if you're the Timberwolves or the Thunder, do you want any part of Steph Curry in this group in round 1, Corban?
I think I'll pass. Just something I'm okay with letting that one go. Especially just because the stress that on over a series, especially that he puts on you. I mean, he's still, even he'll be 36 by that point. Like, well, Conley's age, funny. Anyway, by the time he like gets on that, like in terms of his tenacity, the way he can wear you down and go for the explosions, opens up for so many other people. We'll see Jonathan Kuminga, in a bigger role, right? Klay Thompson might have a throwback game. Like, ultimately, the Warriors' experience will come into play, as they're able to wear down a team and you're not used to them. They can still be the Warriors of old, right? Most of the time, they're just the old Warriors, like just old. But like sometimes they can kind of swing it back on you, and that could be a series for them. I mean, those two teams are teams that are younger and or inexperienced in the playoffs, with Oklahoma City to be their first time since the Russ years. And in Minnesota, I think last year they were in it and they were gone a year. No, they've been the last 3, have they? Yeah. Well, I guess you could say they're more experienced, but they've been like early exits every time. They haven't got the first round since, Ant and Cat have gotten back in there. So either way, I think you like the Warriors' chances at the very least against either of those teams, and no team would really want to match up with the Warriors in that kind of situation anyway.
What do you think, Kenny? Are you buying the second half surge from the Warriors?
100%. Because like Chris said, they've gone 8-2 in their last 10 going into the break. Another thing that's going under the radar is they've been bad to Warrior standards, but they've been an average NBA team, and that's with Draymond, their heart and soul, missing a ton of time. And we also get to see what Chris Paul can bring him once his hand gets better. And so I do think there is going to be a situation where they continue to win, basically. And they could be a tough matchup for a team that is less experienced, because at the top of the West right now, you have Minnesota and you have OKC, who have been very good, but like we've stated, are also very young. So as far as wanting to get that Golden State Warriors matchup, I don't want that if I'm one of those teams.
I also love pods over here, pocket watching, and Clay's like set like the post game blog. That's just hilarious stuff where he's staying late and all that kind of stuff. But I also think it's interesting, Chris, that you're like maybe this is it for Clay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing would surprise me at Clay because all of his answers are pretty thoughtful. It's been a rough year for him, but him taking a pay cut wouldn't surprise me to stay with the Warriors. Him leaving for LA wouldn't surprise me with the dad connections and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's going to be a fun offseason thing. And the Warriors are getting healthy. They're figuring some stuff out with their best lineups. And man, if you're the Thunder or you're the Timberwolves, I don't think you want any part of the Lakers and or the Warriors in the first round. Like you want to avoid that, especially if both are healthy in that spot. Corban, which contract is the worst in the NBA right now? I was thinking about this. I was going through different contracts today, and I was like, what do you think is actually the worst one? What is actually like the worst? Maybe it's the most untradeable. Maybe it's just, it can be your interpretation of it. What's the worst contract for you?
For me, it's John Collins. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just playing.
Oh, I was like, that's
no.
The man threw it out of bounds. It wasn't his fault. He was trying to find he was trying to make a play with 2 seconds to go. He thought he saw someone in the stands. Like that
was a fun closing sequence. But no, he's actually been solid in Utah. But my guy is in Washington. Is Jordan Poole. I think Zach LaVine was like one I was thinking of, and he's not super great, but at least he brings more value than Jordan Poole does, right? Poole is just, come on, it's been horrific. Like, he wanted to lead a team. Congratulations, like he's led the Wizards to the very bottom. Like that mission accomplished, sir. I don't know. They don't play smart. They don't execute efficiency. He's down across the board in literally most offensive physical categories. Like. It's not great. He got splits of 40, 30, 85. Thank goodness for free throws. He's not even a 20-point per game scorer. You had some people, I'm glad to say it wasn't me, that were like, hey, he's about to pop off. Like, this guy's going to be unleashed like 26, 27 points. Leave about 12 points short, y'all. Like he's struggling to get these 15s. It's not even like it's an easy 15. Like, it's rough. It's a rough watch. And so, he was the easy one for me, especially when you're paying to do 30 mil, a year, 30 plus mil, 35, 37 to give you over the last couple of games, last 5 games. He had 19 points on 19 shots against Boston. He had 11 points on 4-8 shooting. He had a beautiful game against Dallas, 3 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on 1 of 12. 19 points on 17 shots. Like, this is all the night's work for Jordan Poole. This is what he does. And you're paying him a good portion of your cap for the privilege of that. And I don't know if it's just the fit, if he just was, he's exposed now in Washington. It wasn't as, in a system in Golden State. Again, the beautiful game that Steve Kerr employs, he's able to kind of fit, a lot better. But with the contract that he's on, again, 30 this year, 33 next year, 35 in 2026, 2027. $99 million for that? Nah.
I like that one. Poole's probably up there. And that's like one of those, man. You just break up a good thing, man. You didn't realize you had a great thing in Golden State. Like, you were the third guy. You didn't get all this attention, like with the Clay debate. Like, it was right there. The opportunity was right there for you to just be a key cog. You won a title with this group, to just be okay with this group of guys where it's like, you don't know what you have until it's over and you're gone. You're like, oh, I want my own team. It's like, well, here's your own team. You're getting booed by your own fans. Like, this is the worst case scenario. And it's just like, man, that worked. You and Clay falling off a little bit and that kind of thing. Like it was nice. Like Jordan Poole, you developed and you had a really good thing going in Golden State. And I don't know. That's just one of those where you just kind of you feel bad for both sides. I think a sneaky one, Chris, is Chris Middleton. His contract, he's a player option in 2026. I don't know if you've looked at his numbers this year.
Ooh.
Chris Middleton's having a bad year. Chris Middleton's
need to look at
barely
that.
ever available. I think my gut says Chris Middleton's the worst contract in basketball because I don't know if it's tradable for a lot of teams around the league. And the Bucks need him in a significant way come playoff time. I don't know if you can still count on Chris Middleton at this point in his career in his mid-30s. I don't know if he can be a closer and that kind of big shot maker on a championship team again. Like you got your ring, which is good. But that Chris Middleton contract to me, I think might be the worst contract in basketball given all the context involved.
Yeah, that player option hurts. I mean, he's probably going to pick it up because his performance, like his points per game, are going down. But that also is with Damian Lillard in the backcourt. Drew Holiday wasn't soaking up a lot of shots like Lillard is.
Yeah.
Middleton also has his injury problems as well. He's actually shooting far more efficiently than he was a season ago, which is what Milwaukee essentially just needs from him at this point. If he could defend, great. Drew Holiday again is no longer there. He was like the anchor of that defense. I was going to agree with Corban. I think Jordan Poole is up there as well. I mean, Ben Simmons too. A lot of it is just based on injuries and whatnot, but his contract is expiring next year for $40 million. And Brooklyn will probably look to get off that as soon as possible. So, again, make your money. Look, the salary cap's only going to go up. These players that are the Pools of the world who get their own team, and all of a sudden the spotlight is on them, and they can no longer score, they can no longer shoot. Again, get paid, guys.
There you go, Kenny. What about you?
Honestly, I was gonna also say Jordan Poole, just for the simple fact of he's not even their best player. Kyle Kuzma is.
Yeah.
And so it's not expiring anytime soon. And with the way he's played, nobody's trading for him. Like he's kind of like sunk his value completely by leaving Golden State, because now I don't think it's so much of him not being as good anymore. I think he just doesn't have anybody to really cover for him anymore. Kyle Kuzma's sneakily having a really good season, but aside from that, you kind of have nothing. You also traded away Daniel Gafford, who covered up some of the defense, and that's also gone. So now he's really exposed. And so I just think there's kind of nowhere to go for him. And on a team that kind of just, I don't even want to say got off the Bradley Beal money, because Bradley Beal is a really good player, but to go into that situation now, it's just another disaster for the Wizards. It's just back-to-back disasters for them over and over again. And it just gets to a point where it's like they have to figure something out. And I don't think they're going to be able to figure anything out with this Jordan Poole thing.
No, I don't either. And they're just kind of trapped. Kenny, your League Pass team right now. Why and why not? When the break ends, should fans tune into the Chicago Bulls?
Answer to that is very simple. Coby White. Coby White is my pick for most improved player. Right now, he is sitting at 19.6 points per game. I believe 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He had a game recently where he just completely took over in the fourth quarter. I don't even remember whether they won the game or not, but he is a completely different player now. And especially with, unfortunately, the Lonzo Ball injury and the Zach LaVine injury, he's getting the touches, and he's finally becoming the Coby White who got drafted into Chicago. And so, and they also still have DeMar DeRozan, and that's great. You kind of know what he brings, but Coby White has been an incredible watch this season. And I actually have been watching a decent amount of Bulls games because of that.
I love the Coby White thing. So when you talk about like what's been different, because obviously the numbers are, so when you're watching Bulls games, what is Coby White doing better? And like, is there all-star potential now with Coby White? Is he, what's different about Coby for the folks not tuning in if they're not Bulls fans?
He's really, I don't want to say he's taking a leadership role, but he's definitely not playing the background like he used to. It's like he kind of finally, and it seems very simple, but he kind of like seems like he realizes the confidence is there. I'll put it that way. There's situations where DeMar DeRozan may usually be the person who gets this shot at the end of the game, and Coby White is like, no, let me bring the ball over here. I got us. There's a just completely different attitude with Coby White. You can tell he really worked on his game. He's a lot more efficient this year than he's been in past years. it's just all across the board. I just feel like Coby White finally understands that he's Coby White, the one who came out of North Carolina as a high lottery pick. And it's been incredible to watch, man.
I like it. What do you think, Corban? Is Coby White the best reason for the Bulls right now to tune in?
I mean, I'm still a fan of DeMar DeRozan balling out. No, I'm kidding. I am, but it really is Coby White. Yeah, I mean, oh, Chris, thank you. Yeah, there you go. Raptor forever. Exactly. No, like I think it is. I mean, it's clearly been him. I think that I would assume it's had some moments, right? And you did have that run right after Zach LaVine got injured, where it all kind of worked, right? Younger guys stepped up. DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic played well, but outside of this, like Patrick Williams probably out for the year, right? They're kind of taking extreme precaution with the injury he had, which to me spells, not playing. And even if he was, he has not been super great, right? Like it's the fourth year we're seeing of just general, okay, you're pick number 4 and we're getting like major, not even Marvin Williams energy out of you. Like, what are we getting? I'm not sure. Like, it's the most damning indictment, but like, he can be on the floor sometimes and then he'll be out and say, oh, in comes X player for Patrick Williams. I'm like, he was on the floor? Like,
hold on.
Yeah.
I can tell you, the man shooting 36% from 3 right now, Julian Phillips, VFL, long-term answer at the 4. Many forget some good dunks. Like, hey, when Patrick Williams goes away, he rises. I'm all about it, man. Julian Phillips for me. Like, I love Julian Phillips, but that's who you're thinking of, Corbett. That no-namer you're talking is Julian Phillips.
There you go. Exactly. I was giving an example at random, but you're right. There you go. Julian Phillips it is. But like, either way, it's just a surprise that, oh yeah, like I didn't realize Williams he just out there getting cardio, man. He's going up and down the floor. And I'm not like, no disrespect, like Chris said, get your money and everything, but like he's kind of impacting that, right? Like we'll see kind of what it is moving forward for him. But yeah, I don't know. Aside from that, yeah, Coby White's the clear answer there, and the steps he's taken, because he was kind of getting some flack over the last couple seasons for like failure to launch to what people expected. Now here it is, and another reminder that yes, being a point guard in the NBA takes time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean their guard rotation. I mean Coby White, Alex Caruso, Ao, and Javon Carter. I mean that's just like, oof. That's just a lot of solid NBA bodies. And like, it's just kind of a pain. Like the Bulls are still just a pain and they refuse to trade guys. And they still got your guy, DeMar DeRozan, Chris.
Bring him home to Toronto. I need something to be cheerful about these days.
Do you want DeRozan back?
Well, no, but just for the vibes, man. You see
Okay.
You see the hate that Scotty Barnes is getting on Twitter these days? I need something to just like cheer me up, man. It's getting rough out there.
Yeah, do Raptors fans hate their star player? What's happening here?
I certainly don't. Have you seen the tweets that I sent out about Scotty Barnes? I'm like literally saying every Raptor he ever passes in franchise history for scoring. And he still blocked me on Twitter. What the hell, Scotty?
You're doing your part, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he blocked me on Twitter. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. But you know,
Wait,
I was
Scotty blocked you on Twitter?
Podcast. Yeah, he blocked me on Twitter. Yeah.
Why?
I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, let's be honest here.
Wow. Not
no, I'm kidding. No, like I mean,
middle. No, I'm playing.
I was tagging him like once a month to ask him to be on my podcast. Maybe he just doesn't think I don't know.
Okay, well that might be more.
That's a lame reason, but that's a funny one. Hey, way to shoot your shot, and you know,
hey, you got to shoot your shot, man.
Yeah. Like Scotty Barnes.
There you go. Walder, your wild NBA thought of the week this week is what, sir?
We're looking a little bit into the future here, but just based on some of the things that he's saying and the lack of immediate success of his team, I am convincing myself that Doc Rivers is not going to survive next season with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this
next season or this season? Are we sure he survives next week with this team?
No, he also. I mean, I have to give him some time. Like I have to be a little bit patient here. But just the way he's talking to the media already about like the management's decision to put him into this head coaching role, you know, midway through his season, he was saying that, you know, it's hard enough to pick up the slack from a coach who just got fired and incorporate your own style and your own philosophies. But the team is 3-8 since he got hired as the new head coach. Hopefully this break will kind of like fix things and revitalize the Bucks. Their defense has improved under Rivers, if ever so slightly. It's still like 11th in the league Last year they were second or third, so it's still a drop off. Their offense has gotten worse under Doc Rivers as well. And I don't think Giannis Antetokounmpo is a very patient man. Milwaukee is fortunate that he is locked in for a while, because this is the type of guy who could be like, you know what? I helped bring this franchise a championship. If we exit in the first round or don't go as far as I think this potentially could go, then I'm going to demand a trade. And why wouldn't he? Like, they should accommodate him if shit hits the fan. But I don't think Doc Rivers, and we can do an entire podcast about his failures in the postseason. I don't think Rivers was the guy to take over. I thought Adrian Griffin was actually doing a pretty admirable job, considering, they did lose Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. You're trading in defense for offense. That hasn't panned out, but Griffin was a first-time head coach, and there was going to be those growing pains. But I think with Rivers just kind of bitching to the media, and if you haven't seen it online circulating, the rant that JJ Redick went on about Rivers was pretty fascinating. It was like a wrestling promo. It was very cool. I think if Milwaukee fizzles out for the rest of the season and into the playoffs, because, man, if they get Indiana in the first round, that is going to get ugly real quick for those boys.
It'll be high scoring. It'll be a lot back and forth. I mean, I don't think Indiana has anything for Dame and Giannis, but it'll be fun either way.
Hey, Siakam will help. Siakam will help.
Siakam will help. That's going to get you getting used to, is just forgetting that Pascal is a pacer. Kenny, do you agree with the Doc questions, and do you think the Bucks get back on track enough here in the second half?
I don't think they're gonna really be that great. It's just for the simple fact Doc Rivers has a very long history of going into situations and completely ruining them. Whether you talk about ruining all the way back with the Tim Duncan almost joining Orlando Magic and ruining that, whether you talk about the Lob City Clippers teams, where that whole thing just went to pure garbage and they should have been contenders, but he's weird with his rotations, and then he stopped getting along with the players. When you think about the Sixers and ruining the Ben Simmons relationship, and now he goes to Milwaukee and immediately is questioning management. He keeps bringing up Adrian Griffin, because this isn't the first time. He also mentioned, which is admirable, he's going to give his All-Star check to Adrian Griffin, but he's made it very clear he's on Adrian Griffin's side, and he has to be in that building every day. And Giannis is also getting to a point where he has a long history of being very open about not being happy with coaches. And so I think not only do the Bucks not really be much of a successful team this season, I think they're headed for disaster, and it's just a matter of time.
When you say disaster, are we talking like just full-on implosion, Dame gone, Giannis gone, and just Milwaukee really imploding over the next couple years, or just like, look, they're kind of stuck with this core, and they're just not going to be able to build a real contender with this group, even speaking to Middleton's contract?
I think it's going to get to a point where somebody leaves. I don't know if it's going to be Giannis because he's the guy, but we've mentioned earlier Chris Middleton is going to pick up that contract as well. That's going to kind of mess things up for him. I don't know if they're going to fire Doc right away, because hiring him in the first place was already such a big mess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I know there's going to be way too many distractions for them to win anything.
Yeah, they're still paying their last 3 head coaches. There's no way they're gonna like literally they're all on payroll and haven't been there's no way they add Doc to that and then pay 4. That would just no. I mean, I can't. I'm with you. I'm with you, Kenny. I can't believe that they would do that, at least so soon.
Right.
It's already starting off bad, but it's too late.
What they should have done is just brought back Budenholzer at the deadline, at the All-Star break. That's what they should have. Just swallow their pride and say we messed up. We don't have to start all over. Just swallow your pride. Like, Budenholzer, come back. You're not doing anything. Just get this team back on track. And I think Mike would probably do it. Like, it's still a great job. And hey, that's a good story. Like, that's a cool narrative. Like, hey, we messed up, and we've won a lot of games here with each other. And like, hey, you know the players, you know the system. Just bring back Bud. And they went the Doc route, and we'll see what ultimately happens here. But I'm with you guys. I don't think this ends well for Milwaukee. Final thing here, Kenny. What's up with the Miami Heat this week, sir?
Delon Wright has been, well, I'm predicting, because they haven't played yet, is gonna be sneakily just as good of a buyout pickup as Kevin Love was, just for the simple fact of need. So last season, the Heat really needed a little bit of size, and Bam needed some help with rebounding because he's usually switches so much and he's out on the perimeter a lot. Kevin Love fixed a lot of that. For years and years and years, really the whole Jimmy Butler era, the Heat have desperately needed point of attack defense. They tried with Victor Oladipo, but he was already just way too injured and it was done already. Delon Wright brings that. He brings nail help. He brings quick hands. Because that was the question when pairing Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero is like, all right, the defense is going to stink, at least on the perimeter. So you bring in somebody who specializes in defense, also a really good catch and shooter over the past, I want to say 5 years now. He's been pretty good. And so I think he gets a lot more minutes than a lot of people may think he will. And I think he's going to really contribute to really not have big games, but to kind of cover up a lot of issues the Heat have had, especially with them. Terry Rozier is also injured right now. And so they kind of they've been running Tyler Hero a lot at point guard, and he's looked good. But I think Delon Wright just kind of remedies a lot of issues they've had really for years. And if that pans out, it could get a little scary because it's a lot more difficult to kind of attack somebody. Because if you're going to hunt Tyler Hero, you have to worry about Delon Wright with the nail help, swiping and getting steals and all that stuff. He's been, I believe, per 36 towards the top of the league in deflections for years now. If not, I think it may have been Brady Hawk who said he's been no lower than top 3 for maybe the past 4 or 5 years in deflections. And so I think when you add somebody like that to an already tough Heat defense, and their only thing they've been missing is someone at the point guard position who could do it, it could really pan out for my team, man.
I love it, and I'm always gonna be a Delon Wright guy. Like, he was so good as Trey's backup. Like, I miss Delon Wright all the time. Like, he's such a fun guy to watch on
He
defense.
shut Tyler Hero down in those playoffs.
Yeah, he's great.
So, yeah,
he's just a great pro, and he's just someone who should stick and be. He's just an important player. I think he's going to be great in the Heat. I love that thought. Yeah, I love it. Anything new with the Raptors, Chris? Anything positive going into the news?
I like hearing Delon Wright's name just because he was a former Raptor. I remember when he was like a part of our bench mob, like there was a legitimate debate of who should be the backup. Should it be Wright or Fred VanVleet? Obviously, it panned out because VanVleet became an all-star. But I was very much a Wright guy. He's got really good length as a backup point guard, like Kenny was saying, like deflections near the top of the league. And I think he's going to be able to kind of, help a backcourt in Miami that's not exactly defensively sound with Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier when he is healthy. So as far as buyout pickups go, really solid for Miami. They know how to pick up these guys out of obscurity and turn them into something special.
And then there are teams like the Lakers, Corban, who know when to get those Heat guys when they're all done.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent.
Oh my gosh. Probably not going to play this year. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know.
That Gabe Vincent contract, man.
No, it was dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was on a heater. That's great. Like, I love it. We didn't need him.
But I mean, if you have Alex Caruso or Dennis Schroeder in that spot, like how different things are this year.
Okay, I need a minute.
Caruso for sure.
Alex Caruso makes a huge difference, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Caruso would be gigantic. Like that's just one.
We need it. I mean, we got Spencer Dinwiddie now, so we're fine. But but like, hey, you should be happy because former Raptor Spencer Dinwiddie. All right,
Raptors legend.
Exactly.
How many teams has he been on? Is he in the double digits yet? He's
No.
probably nearing it.
What?
Right?
Brooklyn, Detroit, Dallas, Brooklyn again.
Entering that Luke Ridnour territory.
Yeah, he only has like 5.
Is it only 5? I would have thought like 7.
4. Maybe he went 2 stints in Brooklyn, Detroit.
Oh, Washington. He played in Washington.
Washington.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
he was with the Windy City Bulls. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought he was a Chicago Bull.
That's
Okay,
true.
so yeah,
He's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he's at 6.
Okay, I forgot Washington. Yeah, I was a season. Anyways, but yeah, so like I don't know. I don't know. That contract for Vincent is rough, especially to like have him sit. It feels very much like Kendrick Nunn, like all over again. Even to the point where they got signed, where the first thought I had was why, and the second thought I was, oh, okay, he's not that bad. And then, oh, he's injured. Oh, he's still injured. Oh, half the season. Oh, like literally, I'm going through the 7 stages of grief or the 7 stages of a Lakers signing a former Heat guard. Like, come on now. I don't know. You just
never want to go away. If the Heat are letting them out of the Heat culture, like,
that should be a sign. Exactly.
But you know what? This is the worst part about it is the Lakers twice should have known it was going to go bad. Kendrick Nunn had worn out his welcome in Miami by being so inconsistent and basically bad in his second year that they just wanted nothing to do with him. They They brought in Kyle Lowry. They still had money. They decided to just do absolutely nothing over keeping Kendrick Nunn.
Wow.
And Gabe Vincent, a lot of people saw that playoff run and were like, it was like Gabe Vincent's a really good player. No, he's not. He tries hard on defense. He has a game maybe once every 2 months where he'll get hot and he'll look good, but he was sub 40% from the field most of last season. And so I don't know what Rob Pelinka's really doing when he makes these signings, but Gabe Vincent's another guy who the Heat could have very easily brought back, and we're just like, no, we'll figure something else out. We're good.
I'm excited to see the Lakers give Caleb Martin the max this offseason.
Oh God, no! Like what gets me?
And he's been injured too.
Yeah, exactly. What gets me bothered is we didn't even get the right Heat castaway. We could have went for Max Strus. Like he's been okay in Cleveland. Like he's been
he had that
horrible.
start to Cleveland. I don't know what's he shooting now. He was shooting horribly early on in Cleveland. How's he doing now? Is he better?
He got a little bit better. I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's not.
He's improved in other areas.
Yeah, he's great. I'm not saying he's a panacea to everything, but like he'd be better than nobody. We getting street clothes. Like I don't even care. But I'm not a fit guy to begin with. I don't want to see no Gabe Vincent fits. Like, dude, we're looking at him like he's a prime player. I don't know. It almost reminds me. Us Laker fans, we go through the series of like, I don't know. I remember we put all our hopes on Taylor Horn Tucker. Like you have, like we say these things. Oh, just wait till Gabe Vincent gets back. We're not fully whole, and then you say that out loud, and you hear yourself go, "Wait, what?" Like, we got Anthony Davis and LeBron James, but we saying, "Oh, wait till Gabe Vincent comes back, and then we're gonna be ready for what exactly?" Like does Gabe Vincent?
I mean, think about the Hawks right now. Like, there's still Hawks fans who are like, "Look, when DeAndre gets healthy, like that's never happening." You're never getting a long-term healthy DeAndre Hunter. Like, I don't know what more you have to see. The man's 37. Like, it's just not happening. Like, the knees are never getting better. Like, that's just, what are we doing? You're just hurting yourself at this point to be like, hey, look, when DeAndre's healthy, that's when things are gonna be all right. Like, our wing depth gets a little bit, but it's like, all right, man, I don't know what else to do here. The DeAndre Hunter's not gonna be healthy long-term. That's just not gonna be a day-to-day. Don't live in that world. I don't know, but we'll see. Either way, that is all I've got tonight. So, Chris, what can the good folks check out from you over at Oddshark and everywhere else this week?
Yeah, Oddshark, Raptors Republic. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Walder Sports. I'm just happy basketball is back because I get to do a job that I love, covering the NBA again, and I get to do awesome podcasts like this. It's always a pleasure chatting with you guys every Tuesday night. I definitely get my Hawks and my Heat fill because Lord knows I ignore the shit out of those teams. So
wow,
always a pleasure, guys.
Goodness, that was unnecessary. And then he leaves out the Lakers for some reason. He leaves out the Lakers shade. He's like, I'm in on the Lakers content.
Oh wow, Dennis Schroeder was good to you. No, I'm kidding.
I remember the LeBronto. I know he's in a different uniform right now, but I that still stings. But I still.
And that's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair.
I mean, Toronto just needs to bring back the purple. That's all I want. Purple needs to be like a third of their games.
Yeah.
Like, bring back purple for a third. Kenny, what about you over at Playoff Owl and everywhere else this week?
Yeah, so we're actually recording the episode tomorrow. Our last episode, we did talk about All-Star Weekend, but we were so annoyed by the weekend, we came up with extra topics. So we also came up with ideas to fix All-Star Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about our favorite in-game dunkers because the dunk contest is dead. So we talked about in-game dunkers. So we paid homage and paid respect to Blake Griffin, young LeBron James in his first stint in Cleveland, and Gerald Green also.
I love it. Corbin, what about you over at Roundball Ramble, Swish Theory, Basketball Intelligence, and everywhere else this week?
We starting to look into the draft. So hoping to have some draft content out, get some guests on, look into that while we wait for the NBA season to start. And just keep plugging away. Just keep staying at it. Hopefully get some of y'all on, talk some basketball soon. So that's it over here.
I love it. Corbin, Kenny, Chris, thank you guys as always, and I'll talk to y'all next week.